Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday morning. It's Stephen Whiteside here from theuptrend.com. In the pre-market this morning, stock index futures are currently trading below fair value. Dow futures currently down 80 points. Commodities are mixed with gold higher while crude oil is flat at the moment. Now, we are coming up to 8:30 and we're expecting CPI numbers to come out. And of course, they could certainly throw the market for a loop on Wednesday morning. Well, yesterday was probably mostly about Shopify. Shopify had a huge update. Here's what Shopify looked like on Monday. It was up 3.4% on the day. Yesterday it was up over 21%, gapping higher. So just a huge move up for Shopify and certainly helped to keep the TSX afloat on Tuesday. Yesterday morning we were looking at our price target chart and I suggested putting in an order in at 130.99. as your next price target. And of course, above that, you've got 143.75. If you had orders in at those levels, then what happened yesterday morning was it opened up at 149.50. So both of those orders got filled at the open. So congratulations. And then what else happened yesterday? Well, our playing field expanded. So we have new price targets on the daily chart, but not the weekly chart just yet. We're still at 125. Of course, this chart was posted last Saturday morning and based on Friday's numbers. So if you look at the chart, you can figure out that 137.50, 150, 162.50, and 175 would be the next logical targets. And of course, you can see there that 175 is the top of the projected trading range on the daily chart. Now, the fear index is still on a sell signal. That's supportive for higher stock prices. It was down slightly yesterday. On Wednesday, we're looking for a close above 1863 to give us a new buy signal for the VIX, and that would be negative for stocks. Now, yesterday we were talking about big round numbers, and our current big round number that we're watching is $600 on the SPY. Of course, none of these numbers act as permanent support or permanent resistance, and we saw that earlier with the $500 level on the NASDAQ 100 ETF, and we've broken through that. We haven't broken away from it, but we've certainly broken through it. Now, looking at the SPY, it closed at 596.90 yesterday, got a high of 599.29. So do you think that traders were thinking about the $600 level and putting in orders below that to just get out before resistance was hit and the market started to reverse? So we're $3 and change below the $600 level at the moment, and we're trading slightly lower in the pre-market this morning. Now, last week, with the big move up that we saw, we talked about just, if you're going to go long, you need to have an exit strategy. And after the initial pop that we had last week, we talked about using yesterday's low at the time. And then on the weekend, we talked about using last week's low as a get out point, until our charts were able to catch up. So here's what happened. If we look at the SPY, last week's low was 567.89. So quite a big move up from there to where we are today. But what's happened is over the past couple of days, our lower channel lines have started to catch up. So now you can forget about last week's low and take a look at the daily charts. And you can see on the daily right side chart that we would get kicked out of the SPY on Wednesday with a close below 583.74. And if that doesn't happen on Wednesday, of course, those lower channel lines are going to continue to move higher daily. Now, what worked on the S&P 500 yesterday? Well, Tyson was the big winner, followed by Dexcom, which is back on a buy signal. This stock has been having a lot of trouble since Ozempic came out and the other products. But here we are back on a buy signal. I'd be more interested in this stock if it started to break out above the October highs. Then looking at Live Nation, we gapped higher yesterday. Here's a stock, a company I would like to drown in a bathtub, but there it is. It's haven't had an incredible run since the start of September. Then Mosaic, big down day on Tuesday, and then GE pulled back. Closed below the previous day's low, so not a good sign. Looking for a close on Wednesday below $311.39. Then we had a huge drop in Amgen, and Amgen's not only on the S&P 500, but it's on the NASDAQ 100 as well. Now, looking at the NASDAQ 100, similar situation. What was last week's low is at 484.25. but now the lower channel line is moving up. And then on Wednesday, we're looking for a close below $498.90 to give us a new sell signal for the NASDAQ 100 ETF. And of course, if that doesn't happen, those lower channel lines will continue to move higher daily. Now, Zscaler or Zscaler was the big winner yesterday on the NASDAQ 100, followed by Adobe Systems, followed by Honeywell. And of course, Honeywell is also a Dow 30 stock. What didn't work? Well, nobody loves Supermicro. What do you know? That's been a theme that's been going on for quite a while now. Tesla had a huge reversal day yesterday. It certainly closed below the previous day's low, so we'll have to keep an eye on that and see how much downward pressure we can get. But certainly, you want to lock in profits on Tesla. It's had an incredible run, just like Shopify is having now, and you want to take advantage of those big runs and sell into strength. Looking at Micron didn't work yesterday. It's back on a sell signal. Micron, if we go back to the 4th of the month, you can see we were bouncing off 100. 112.50, it acted as resistance several times. And what do you know? 112.50 continues to act as resistance. Will $100 act as support? Well, stay tuned and we'll find out. Then looking at the Canadian market, the iShares for the TSX 60 were up just under 0.75%. You've got to assume that a lot of that was Shopify yesterday because the rest of the market wasn't very happy. Cameco was the next big winner on the TSX. It's back on a buy signal as of Tuesday's close. No joy for CCL, still looking for a close above 82.84. And then Metro continued to move higher. It was up 1.75% on the day. What didn't work? Nutrien is back on a sell signal as of Tuesday's close. Then we've got Algonquin Power. It ran up on Monday, generated a buy signal, came down on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, we're looking for a close below $6.63. This is, lower highs, lower lows. I'm not sure that that's going to change anytime soon. Then we've got TC Energy pulling back, closing below the previous day's low at the upper channel line, and looking for a close on Wednesday below $65.87. Let's finish off this morning looking at commodities, and no trend changes from Tuesday's trading action. Copper continued to move lower. Copper miners continued to move lower. The GLD closed lower on the day. So did the gold mining stocks. The GDX and the XGD continued to move lower. Then silver was actually up slightly on the day, while silver miners and junior silver miners continued to move lower. Now, looking at energies, we had crude oil down slightly on the day, while gasoline was up slightly on the day. Certainly no change in trend there. Then natural gas had a wild day, closing down on the day, still trading above the upper channel line. Looking at energy stocks, the Canadian energy sector was down over 1%, sitting right on the lower channel line, while U.S. energy stocks were down just over 0.5%, making a new high and reversing. Did not close below the previous day's low, so we'll still wait to see how that works out. Okay, folks, that is all for this morning's presentation. I am doing this before the CPI numbers come out. Hopefully I'll get it published before the CPI numbers come out, but that certainly could be an obstacle for the market on Wednesday morning. Now, if you want to come back and join us again on Thursday morning, we'll walk through the list of technology stocks and ETFs that we like to follow.